Continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. You look at these reports with a jaundiced eye if you're doing it right. A story from Reuters that Russian dictator Vladimir Putin is ready to halt the war in Ukraine if a negotiated ceasefire that recognizes the current battlefield lines can be agreed. The current battlefield lines would include the southeast portion of Ukraine into the eastern portion, the Donbass region. These unnamed sources that Reuters cites said that he can fight as long as it takes, but he's ready for a ceasefire to freeze the war, and he's frustrated by Americans in the West propping up Ukraine to continue the war. Of course, Zelensky's posture, these territorial gains that would accrue to Vlad Putin and essentially consummate his invasion are non-starters for Zelensky. But what should the American posture be towards this rolling conflict, particularly after we just drop-shipped them some $60 billion in some form or the other? For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Cliff May. He is the president of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies and foreign affairs columnist for the Washington Times. Cliff, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan and Amy, always good to be with you.
What's your reaction to the the suspected accuracy of the story? You know, is this something that's actually real? And if it's real, what should the U.S. posture vis-a-vis Ukraine be?
So, like you, I'm suspicious. I think there's something going on here. It is possible that Putin would like to say, okay, if I can just realize the gains I've made, I get Donbass, I continue to have Crimea, and we'll freeze the conflict. But keep in mind, he has in mind freezing the conflict for now. I do not believe that he thinks that's it. It's over. I've achieved what I need to achieve in my life. I'm going to go back to making sure that everybody in Russia has the best damn 401k they can possibly have. He may want time to continue to arm. We believe he's been talking to Xi Jinping about getting arms that he could use and go into Ukraine again. Or he may want to do something else. Moldova, country people don't know very well, next to Ukraine would be low-hanging fruit. It is not part of NATO. And then there are the NATO countries, and particularly the Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. They are part of NATO. I've talked to their ambassadors. Their ambassadors are very nervous about the possibility that he'll try to drag them back into the Russian Empire. As for the U.S. posture, I would say two things. Publicly, we should be supporting the Ukrainians who deserve to liberate their land from a foreign imperialist invader. Quietly, we may want to talk to them about, look, what you need to do at this point is not recognize the conquests of Russia, but you could use some time to rebuild, to rearm, to become more of a porcupine, the phrase we use for prey that is difficult for a predator to eat.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're trying to do with Taiwan. And then you'll see what Putin does. A lot of Donbass is wrecked at this point, and it's going to be very difficult to rehabilitate. So I would say if we're smart, we'd have serious. If we look very hard at what Putin's saying, figure out why he's saying it. It's not because he doesn't want war. It's not because he doesn't want bloodshed. He may have reasons, and look at the various opportunities it may represent and the pluses and minuses to there are no good solutions here. There are bad and worse, and good diplomacy means understanding what's worse and what's bad and what is bad.
What happens if Trump wins in November and he says, essentially, the party is over. We're not going to continue to fund this war, at least not without, certain potential stipulations from Congress, depending on what the makeup of Congress is. He basically is going to put Ukraine funding on the table, at least as a chit, and say no more, and send a message to Putin, sort of as he did when he was president the first go-around, that no more from you either, that we will defend NATO allies, that we are not going to sit idly by if you make a feint to another country. But in terms of Ukraine, this is past post at this point, if that's the posture he takes.
Yeah, if that's the posture he takes. I don't know if that's the posture he takes. He's notoriously unpredictable. Yes. Of course, he might want to do what you said the other way around and say to Putin, you need to stop right where you are. If you do, I'm happy to – I don't need to be sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. I'm going to leave that to Europe to do. Then I'm not going to tell them not to do that. But you have to stop first. If you don't, if you keep going, then I am going to continue to help Ukraine defend itself. And I may not be as kind to you as President Biden has been. President Biden has been saying, and this is part of the problem, Ukraine can defend itself on its own land, but it can't inflict damage on Russia using American weapons. During a war, it is actually necessary to inflict damage on your enemies. Right. It is not enough simply to defend yourself. This is an odd thing that Biden has, and it's not just here. He wants the Israelis only to defend themselves. Hamas shoots a weapon at you, shoots a rocket at you. You can knock it out of the sky. That's fine. But if you're going to hurt civilians who are being used as human shields by Hamas, we're not so happy with that. And with Ukraine, you can fight Russians on your soil, but we don't want you knocking out their electrical power facilities. We don't want you hitting their cities. We don't want you hitting their armies as they aggregate to invade you. That you cannot. Here's one thing we know: you can, and any military guy say this: you cannot win a war simply on defense. And that has been Biden's idea. We can only be defensive against our enemies. That's not smart.
Well, speaking of Israel, why do you think Biden is turning on Israel?
Well, I think conventional wisdom is probably right that he has, for the entire time he's been president, done the bidding of the far left of his party. A lot of people voted for him because they thought he was moderate and kind of normal. He's done he's at no point stood up to AOC or Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders. He's had an open border policy, which he has denied. He is illegally spending huge amounts of money, taxpayer money, to buy out student loans from people who took, I don't know, dance history. And I think he's doing that. He's spending that money because he thinks he can buy the votes of young people, a group that he is not as popular with now as he was 4 years ago. So I think a lot of it has to do with politics and with the left that he sees as his base, and what's going on the campuses.
Well, but so what about Republicans? Are Republicans being vociferous enough in the direction of these anti-Semitic Marxists in institutions like the International Criminal Court? The idea that, first of all, the administration's posture is we see no evidence of genocide, but they've been essentially silent when it comes to the ICC pursuing warrants for Bibi and other senior Israeli officials' arrests and prosecution as war criminals. And then you get, of course, the overheated rhetoric from these hate mongers like you just mentioned, Tlaib and Omar and AOC and so forth. So where's the Republican Party, it seems to me, to say, look, that's a bunch of nonsense. Even the Biden administration says it's nonsense, and we're not going to participate in the ICC. We're not going to. I mean, I know that we haven't signed the treaty, but I mean, but the leadership from the West, and if it's not going to be the Biden, the president, then it should be leadership of Republicans in Congress to call this out and to say it will not stand. And if we get back in power, we're going to put a lot more behind it than we're putting as just, the the majority, the slim majority in the House that allows us to do. I mean, really send a signal to the rest of the West in particular to get its freaking act together.
I think you're right, and I think there has been some of that, and I'll give you one very good example that I hope other Republicans will follow, and that's Senator Tom Cotton. And he immediately told the judge of the National Criminal Court, the chief prosecutor, Kareem Assad Ahmad Khan. He said to him, look, equating Israel's democratically elected leaders with the perpetrators of the worst attacks on Jews since World War II shows what a farce the International Criminal Court is. Because Khan said, I want arrest warrants for Bibi Netanyahu, for the defense minister, Yoav Gallant, and of course, for those Hamas guys too. Sure. And then Senator Cotton added, Mr. Khan's kangaroo court has no jurisdiction in Israel to pursue these anti-Semitic and politically motivated charges. My colleagues and I look forward to making sure that neither Khan, his associates, nor their families will ever set foot again in the United States. He understands, Cotton does, as Mr. Khan apparently doesn't, that, and you mentioned this, that the ICC has no jurisdiction over anybody who is not a signatory towards a treaty called the Rome Statute of 1998. Israel didn't sign, the U.S. didn't sign. Now, this is really kind of interesting, because what happened is Mr. Khan, he got furious at this, and he said, when individuals threaten to retaliate against the court or court personnel, such threats, even when not acted upon, may constitute an offense against the administration of justice under Article 7 of the Rome Statute. Now,
was that Khan, or was that Judge Merchant in Manhattan? I know they sound alike.
But he's saying you don't even have freedom of speech. If you criticize me, I will come after you and arrest you. And this is a globalization gone wild, because international law, I don't want to get too wonky here. If there's a treaty and you don't sign it, you are not. He has no authority over the U.S. whatsoever, Khan. None, zero. And he has none, I would say, over Israel either. And he's asserting this authority as if he had it, and he's threatening a senator in the U.S. And I would hope the Republicans would push hard to sanction him and sanction his court. And one other thing, Khan's salary and a huge budget for the ICC, which is based in The Hague, has this beautiful building built by some great architect. Who do you think is paying that? Okay, the U.S. is not, but let me give you some of the major funders. Germany, Japan, France, Britain, Italy, South Korea. Now, do you suppose that President Biden and his ambassadors, if they tried real hard, could have an influence on those countries?
Exactly. 100. But that's exactly my point. Yeah, and the Cotton example is a good one of the kind of pushback that should be should be amplified. 100%. I got another question for you. What do we do about the Rashida Tlaibs of the world? I mean, she spoke this weekend at the People's Conference for Palestine in Detroit, which is not too far removed from a designated terrorist organization by the United States Department. And by the way, Wassim Rafidi is a member of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. That is a designated terrorist organization, and he spoke there along with Tlaib. When does the, you want to talk about the real insurrectionists? When does this become a bit of a fifth column action with the collaborating by sitting congresswomen like Tlaib with designated terrorist organizations?
I think it is a fifth column action. I think that when members of Congress are embracing members of terrorist organizations, that's outrageous. I would like to see Democrats of good conscience censure those who do this. We're not seeing this at this point. I think it would be a good move for Republicans to attempt to censor it and let the Democrats like, Chuck Schumer and others say, no, we can't do that. People are going to get elected in their districts. There's only so much you can do. You can fight them. You can hope the people of their districts are not pro-terrorist, but some may be. If there are violations of law, and there may be, I'm not a lawyer, those should be pursued. But if you've got prosecutors like the one in New York City, Albert Bragg, or others who are supported by George Soros, for their elections, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, Carol Markowitz, the columnist for the New York Post, friend of the show, she had a good tweet about these shameful Princeton protesters who tried to interrupt a Memorial Day parade, and block the American flags, shouting "Free Palestine." I'm glad they still have the energy from their hunger strike, but she said her point here in terms of the real insurrection is my point. Not an Israeli flag, an American flag that they were protesting. People who think this is about Israel or the real Palestinians, LOL, need to wake up. Right? These are anti. I mean, some of them are useful idiots. I get it. I'm not worried about some art history major at Princeton, but they're financed and they're backed by professional insurrectionists, professional Marxist revolutionaries. And, and this really is an attack on American institutions coming through our college campuses for now. And, oh, by the way, as we've seen over the last 50 years, what starts in the college campus can radiate out to all of the other mediating institutions in a civil society.
This is all absolutely true. There's no question that these people are viciously anti-American. They would say, "Oh, this is America," and you can even hear it. I'm sorry to say, in President Biden's speech at Morehouse College, where he talked about he talked about America as a country that is systemically racist, a country that he's not sure democracy is working. That's an interesting thing for somebody elected to the presidency and who has spent all his career as an elected official to say. Kind of odd, but he says a lot of odd things. But when you see them throwing Palestinian flags and throwing blood and red paint on statues of George Washington, they're anti-American. And then the question is, so who are they for? Are they for Xi Jinping and his buddy Vladimir Putin? Are they for Hamas? I think they are. Are they for Tehran? As you guys know, the president of the Islamic Republic of Iran and the foreign minister died in a plane crash. A lot of things happened after that. For one, the UN Security Council had a moment of silence.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to tell you, the American representative.
Yeah, I was good. Go ahead, finish it. Yeah.
Well, the American representative stood quietly for that moment of silence.
Right.
And then the UN Secretary General signed his sincere condolences in a book. And the flag of the UN flew at half-mast for a guy who has killed literally. I mean, this is a bad guy. Thousands of political prisoners, of minorities, of women. They particularly have been going after women, blinding them, killing them for wearing their hijab wrong so their hair showed. I mean, this is also a big part of it. It's terrible that we have these crazies on the campuses. We know that it's not a huge number of students. They are supplied and helped and advised by professional anti-American agitators that are in a coalition, and work is being done, not least by my organization, to try to understand who these people are and how they're getting funding and all that. But the UN is also now not just anti-Israeli, which it is de facto, but it's anti-American, and it's pro-terrorist, pro-Hamas, pro-Islamic Republic, and Guterres, who's the Secretary General, is at the very least afraid of Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin.
This is the whole fiction of the community of nations that's always talked about it. What a farce that is. And this is a good example of it. It's no longer
international community; it's international mob at this point.
Yeah, right. That's a better description. Cliff May is the president of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, foreign affairs columnist for the Washington Times. Cliff, thanks as always.
Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
All right. Are you unable to enjoy the summer as much as you want because of joint pain? Well, this is the best time for being outdoors, but not if your knees, shoulders, back, or hips are hurting due to arthritis or an injury. Don't suffer any longer. Non-surgical joint pain relief is here at QC Kinetics. Call them today. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. Folks, I'm talking lasting joint pain relief with no surgery, no downtime, no drugs. QC Kinetics advanced treatments harness your own body's ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. Think about it. When you cut your hand, eventually it heals. And there's no downtime at all. So you can walk, run, hike, play golf, and move again this summer, pain-free. QC Kinetics is under the leadership of former orthopedic surgeon Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, a pioneer in regenerative medicine. Their advanced protocols have enabled tens of thousands of patients to reclaim their mobility. So stop putting it off. Take action now. Live your best life again. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. They're now open on Saturdays. The number to call is 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955. Again, that's 312-809-5955.
Hey, where are we?
Wake up, Sleepy. It's debate time, and I'm going to wipe the floor with you.
In your dreams. Oh, wait, we're debating?
Try to keep up here. It's a debate, and we're going to talk about my great economy and your economy that's been a disaster. You see, Joe, the dollar is only backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government, and that's why people are dumping dollars for gold and silver.
I usually buy online, so it's all tracked by Big Brother.
Ha! You would. I get mine from the great Americans at Fox Valley Coins, Route 59 in Naperville.
Who are you again?
You're a funny guy, and I'm a serious guy. See, you're not smart with money. I'm very smart. That's why I'm telling everybody about Fox Valley Coins. I tried some other folks, horrible people. Go to Fox Valley Coins, and even you'll be treated very, very well. Oh, and by the way, they've sold thousands of silver coins with my pictures on them. They've got a few of you too, but seems they can't hardly give those away.
That's really not much of a debate. Fox Valley Coins, Route 59 in Naperville is the place to buy or